Hey, baseball fans, it's Jason. Today, I want to talk about the 10 greatest World Series of all time. Not just one game, there's best World Series of all time. There's probably other ones on here that are not on this list that could easily be on this list, but these are my picks for the 10 greatest Major League Baseball World Series of all time. Let's get to it. Number 10, the LA Dodgers over the New York Yankees in 6 games in 1981. That, I don't know if you remember, not far back, but that's Fernando Valenzuela's rookie year. And he became a legend, basically dominated that year, dominated the playoffs, especially dominated the Yankees, but it became almost different. It should have just been Fernando Valenzuela versus the New York Yankees, but that was a heck of a World Series. I encourage you to take a look at it, but that's the best thing I could say is that Fernando Valenzuela became a legend. Okay, a rookie legend. All right. Well, and by the way, if you're a baseball fan, you like baseball stuff, and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification next to it, so you not only don't miss any new videos that I continue to put out, but you also you won't miss any of the ones that I've already put out, especially in the description down below. I always add videos in the description for your enjoyment. With that, number 9. LA Dodgers again over the Minnesota Twins. This is from my book. It's all researched and written down, so I'm just reading from my book. LA Dodgers over the Minnesota Twins in 7 games, 1965. Okay, this one actually, Sandy Koufax was supposed to pitch Game 1, and he didn't play because of Yom Kippur. He was Jewish. He is Jewish, and that was his famous famous quote. It's just a game. He did wind up pitching Games 2, Game 5, and Game 7, and through 24 innings, gave up 1 earned run in all 3 games. Okay, and Game 7 was a complete shutout, and he also had 29 strikeouts in those 3 games as well. So, and Sandy Koufax didn't need this to be a legend. He was already a legend. He had probably the best 10-game stretch in Major League Baseball history, or close to it. Even though he retired at 30 or 31, he was an absolute all-time legend. That's number 9. Number 8, Toronto Blue Jays over the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 games in 1993. This was so they won the World Series in 1992, which was a great series as well, but this was the World Series where in Game 6, bottom of the 9th, Joe Carter hits the game-winning home run off of Mitch Williams, Wild Thing. And you kind of saw the development of Wild Thing. He was kind of falling apart when he came in, and just body language said, yeah, this guy's probably going to give it up. But Joe Carter hit them one of the most epic home runs in Major League Baseball history, and just made it over the wall for the game-winning home run to clinch the 2nd consecutive World Series for the Toronto Blue Jays. And it's always nice that if they hit him at home, or if the last out happens in somebody's home stadium, so you can actually see them celebrate at home, which is kind of cool. And this was one of those situations where we were able to do that. That's number 8. Number 7, the Dodgers are in a lot of these. Los Angeles Dodgers over the Oakland A's in 5 games in 1988. The Game 1, obviously the game-winning home run, Kirk Gibson off of Dennis Eckersley, that the fist pump shot. Okay. And the cool thing about this, one of the reasons why I think it's epic, is because most of the Dodgers were hobbled, injured at the time, and they were severe underdogs, and they put it all together. They had some of those, players who you wouldn't expect stepped up, and they wound up beating the Oakland A's in 5, making it a really epic World Series. Generally, epic World Series usually are 7 games, but this was a pretty exciting World Series, even though it only went 5. Number 6. 2017, the Houston Astros over the Los Angeles Dodgers. That was an epic and an absolute classic all-time 7-game World Series. 6 of the games were actually decided between 1 run or so. They were very close games. It was a very intense back-and-forth World Series. And as much as I share a lot of the sentiments about the Houston Astros and their potentially tarnished baseball title, it was an absolute classic, so I give it to both teams. Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw, I think he was robbed, but it was a classic World Series. So that's number 6. Number 5, Philadelphia Phillies over the Kansas City Royals in 6 games, 1980. This was actually it was a really intense series. I remember talking about this with my dad back in the day. And it's known for having the greatest Game 5 in the history of all World Series. Still to this day, in 2020. It's an epic game. And that game, there was a massive ninth inning rally of all-time historic proportions, and the way that it all laid out, things just kind of rolled away for the Philadelphia. Even though they won in 6, Game 5 was what really sealed the deal. So that's number 6. That's number 5. Number 4, Oakland Athletics over the Cincinnati Reds in 7 games, 1972. Okay, Raleigh Fingers was pitched in 6 of the 7 games. Okay, and 6 of these games were also decided by 1 run, which making it for just a nail-biting World Series. So those are the types of World Series that keep you on the edge of your seat. The other game was like an 8-1, I think, blowout or something like that. But 6 of the 7 games being decided by 1 run, that is a World Series. Number 3. Another recent one, 2016, the Chicago Cubs over the Cleveland Indians. Chicago's first World Series title in a bazillion years. This was an epic 7-game World Series from Rajai Davis's home run off of Aroldis Chapman to it was an all-timer, to Chris Bryant making the last out. But Jason Hayward, even though he was kind of they kind of gave him a lot of flack that year for not performing up to his contract, he gave one of the best pregame speeches, and he became a legend for it and hero for it before this game, before the 7th game, and to help the Cubs get over the top. But I remember this is one of the best World Series I've ever personally watched, 2016. Number 2, the New York Yankees over the Atlanta Braves in 6 games in 1996. They were down 2-0. It was the Andrew Jones show in the beginning. They lost both 2 games at home, and then they went. I remember Torrey told George Steinbrenner, "We're going to sweep them in Atlanta. I'm going to come back here in New York and win it here on Saturday in 4 consecutive games." Steinbrenner thought he was nuts, thought he should up his meds, but that's exactly what they did. They beat him. They swept him in Atlanta, and it came back and won in Game 6 up in the Bronx. Charlie Hayes making that last out. John Wetland on the mound. Mariano Rivera pitching an epic 7th and 8th inning. Joe Girardi hitting that amazing triple off of Greg Maddux early in the game. That was an unbelievable series. I remember watching it with my parents, and it was one of the best World Series I've ever seen. But number 1, I have to give it to him as a Yankee fan. To me, this is the most epic World Series because the New York Mets beating the Boston Red Sox in 1986. I'm not a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan, but I remember that World Series. It made me really appreciate that band of misfits they had. I mean, from Gooden to Keith Hernandez to Gary Carter to Wally Backman to Tim Tuffle to Jesse Orosco, like all those guys. And they were a band of misfits, partying all the time and all the stories that were told about them. But I remember everything from being heavy. They were the heaviest underdogs, I think, in World Series history, if I remember correctly. And you remember in Game 6, Billy Buckner booting that while letting the ball go right between his legs, which would have, I think, either put them in extra innings or sealed the title for the Red Sox at the time. It was Game 6. They were up 3-2, and that turned the tables. Mookie Wilson hit that ground ball, went through his legs, and Mets scored to win the game to go into Game 7. And Game 7 was one of the most epic World Series games ever. I remember watching this with my mom, and from all the hits that happened to Jesse Orosco making the pitch to strike for the last out strikeout, and the place going absolutely nuts, crazy. Again, that's to me the most epic World Series, the New York Mets over the Boston Red Sox, and it continued to curse. Thank you, Mets, for that. For a bunch more, for almost 17 or 18 more years after that. But yeah, so that's my 10 greatest World Series of all time. Let me know what you think. If you have other ones, put them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, please click the thumbs up. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'm trying to continue to grow this channel. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's my next milestone. So if you haven't subscribed, even if you don't plan on watching all the videos, your support would be greatly appreciated. So with that said, keep looking out for each other. Be safe and be smart. And I will talk to you all next time.